Alright, so let's press play here and see what happens. As you can see, there is no main menu popping up, so I'm going to go ahead and hit stop here. Now inside of the third person BP here, what I'd like to do is make my run our map here, and I'd like to script it just like we did before with our player HUD, where it spawns the widget on our scene. So I'm going to go up to blueprints here, and I'm going to go to open level blueprints, and on event begin play, I'm just going to type in create widget. Now the widget I want to select is the one that we just created, so I'm going to click on my drop down here, and there's UI main menu. Now this will create the main menu, but it will not display it on the screen. So under the return value here, I'm just going to type the word add, and you should see one that says add to viewport. So now I'm going to compile and save this, and when I press play, you'll now see that it appears on the screen. Now something that you should take note of is, for whatever reason, if when you press play you see your hearts or whatever like on your screen, there's in your game mode override here, it might be set to game mode base, for example, or it might be set to something like that. The issue with that is if we look at our project settings and we go to maps and modes, there is a default game mode inside of here, right? So like for example, by default it might be set to game mode or game mode base. Let's see which one it would be. And if we look at game mode or we look at game mode base, you can see that the default pawn class is set to default pawn. So if I close that and I press play now, let's see if it is, let's check that. If it's maybe game mode, is that what I'm thinking of? And that's what would store in your player controller. But if that ends up being the case for you, what you can do to fix that is under third person BP here. What I normally do in blueprints is I right click and I create a new blueprint class, and what that class is a I'll create a new game mode base. So here's game mode base, and inside of here I'll just name this I don't know, just game mode base, I guess, game mode base underscore main menu. Now what this is used for is, if I open this up, you could see here that creates the basics of what should be loaded in at runtime. So for example, you could see this, the status, the player state, the player controller class, default pawn class. It says here default pawn. I'm just going to save and compile this for a second. What I'd like to do under default pawn class is just set that to none for this level, and then I'm going to compile and save this. So now I know when I add this to my main menu scene, so let's compile and save that again. Doesn't look like it's saved. If I go to under my details here, world settings, I can actually under game mode override select that and then just select game mode base main menu, and you could see under player controller class I can actually I have these options here, and default pawn class is automatically set to none because that's what it was set up in my game mode base. So now when I press play, you shouldn't get that on the screen. You only have these options. So this is something you definitely want to do for specific levels where you don't want the player to be launched in. Mine didn't have that issue because probably it remembered default settings from previous games that I had built out. Now let's take a look at how we can hook these up to start the game. Alright, so let's go into our content UI main menu here, and let's expand UI main menu. Now we have these options here. Now if I click on graph, what I'd like to do is, actually let's do a better job of naming this. So this one is start game. So on the button here for the name, I'm just going to do start game button, and then this would be quit underscore button. So for the start game button here, when I click on this, I'd like it to essentially load into the graph. So you can see now we have these variables that are set up for start game. Now if you don't see those variables for whatever reason, make sure that each one of your buttons has its variable ticked on, and that'll allow it to be seen over here in our variable names. So if I right click here and I type on clicked, let's look for let's see where our add events, I think they're up top. Oh, so it's right here. Sorry, forgive me. A little tired. So what that does is now that we've selected this variable, we have our events down here. So if I click on clicked, you could see here that this is our start game button. So this will, once we click on it, it's going to fire off an event. We don't, like right now it's not doing anything. What we'd like to do is load up a level. Let's do another one for quit. So on click quit game, there's actually a node just called quit game. So this would actually quit our game for us. So that's pretty cool. Like that's already set up, easy enough. For our level or on click start game, we want it to load up. Let me save this so you can see that. We want it to load up this level right here, which is our let's see, third person BP map. So we want it to load up this third person example map here. So let's go back in our main menu and let's go back into our HUD. Now this one's just as easy. If I drag this out and I just type in the word level, you'll see open level. And I thought I copied and pasted that. Give me 1 second. Let's go back in here. Let's go back to our contents folder, third person BP map. What I'd like to do is right click. Let's see if we press F2. Yeah, just copy that. Actually, let's just rename this all together. Level 1. And then I'm going to rename this and just copy that name. Just save current, save all, so we can make sure. Now let's go back to main menu and back into our UI, main menu, open this up. Now I'm just going to paste level 1 in here, compile and save that. Let's press play and click start game, and now you can see we're in our level. Now when we click on quit game, it's just going to take us to this black area. We're not actually in the game, so it just kind of like kicked us out of our game altogether. So if we press play now, we can do this. So it's easy enough way of wiring up and creating a main menu.